Luke chapter 24, verses 13 to 32, contains a very beautiful text and narration that is known as the Emmaus Experience or the walk to Emmaus. At the outset, it is important to realize that Jesus has been very clear in the Gospel of Luke when he tells the disciples, do not leave Jerusalem. Stay in Jerusalem because everything of significance will happen there. So already when we realize that these two disciples, and Luke does not give us the names because he possibly wants you to place yourself in the position of one of those two. The fact that they are moving away from Jerusalem is a sign, first of all, of disobedience. They are not being obedient to the command of the Lord. And second, it indicates a loss of hope because they are moving away from where the Lord is to appear. It indicates a giving into despair. It indicates being taken in by the situation, so one cannot act as appropriately as one ought to. So the disciples are going towards defeat. The disciples are going towards giving up and giving in when they are walking towards Emmaus. But Jesus does not give up on us. And even as they walk, he walks with them. And it is the same Jesus, but because they have given into the negative, because like Mary Magdalene, there are tears in their eyes, there is despair in their minds, there is loss of hope in their hearts, they are not able to recognize him. They are not able to listen and hear his voice. And as they are walking, Jesus walks with them and asks them a very courteous, a very direct question. A question which makes them reflect on their present situation. What are you talking about, says Jesus, as you walk along your way? And if you were to read the response of the disciples to Jesus, you will realize that all the verbs they use in their narration are in the past tense. We had hoped that he would be the one to redeem Israel. We had thought that this would happen. In other words, it indicates that they are not living in the now. They are not present. They are not here. And the reason why they cannot live in the now and in the present is because they are walking towards defeat. They are walking towards Emmaus. They are being disobedient to the Lord. And as they near their destination, Jesus makes as if to go ahead, but they invite him to stay. And even as he stays with them and breaks bread, they recognize him in that breaking. And their minds go back to when he explained the scriptures to them. And their hearts were burning. And the same disciples who said to that seeming stranger, but whom they now recognize as the Lord, "Come and stay with us because it is evening," are the ones who at that very instant come back to Jerusalem. If Luke takes almost 19 verses to describe the walk from Jerusalem to Emmaus, he takes half a verse to describe the walk from Emmaus to Jerusalem. Because Luke tells us at that very instant they return to Jerusalem, and the next thing we know is they are in Jerusalem. What does Emmaus mean for us today? Emmaus stands for any place, any activity, any process that I undertake, that I go to when I have given up on life. It stands for giving up and giving in. It stands for losing hope and despair. It stands for the fact that I have lost faith and confidence in the Lord. And the reason why I am not able to listen to the voice of the Lord, to see His face as I ought to be able, is because I am in the midst of frustration and anger and bitterness. This is my Emmaus. And if I want to see the face of the Lord, if I want to hear His voice, I need to turn and come back to Jerusalem. And even as I take the first step towards Jerusalem, I will be able to see the Lord and hear Him clearly. I will be able to understand that the Lord is saying to me, come back to hope. Never give in. Never give up. Am I one of those who gives up easily? Am I one of those who, when things do not go the way I want, get frustrated, disappointed, and dejected? Am I one of those whose faith in the Lord is only good when I get what I pray for? Am I one of those who, no matter what happens in my life, will continue to be optimistic, will continue to be faithful, will continue to trust that as long as I do what I have to do, the Lord will do the rest? Am I one of those who will stay in Jerusalem no matter how difficult, how bleak, how dark Jerusalem might be? Am I one of those who will resolve that no matter what the consequences, I will never walk to Emmaus, I will never give in to despair? Am I one of those with such confidence and faith and trust in the Lord that I know that He will appear to me in Jerusalem? Stay then in Jerusalem, because that is what the Lord wants you to do, and that is where you will see the Lord and hear His voice.